everybody, what's happening? I hope you're having a wonderful day. Please hit the subscribe button if you're watching from YouTube. If you're checking this out on TikTok, hit follow to keep up with my content to stay connected. If you don't know me, I'm Jonathan Mathis, the sports judge. I've been at this for a while now. Welcome on in. Sad news hit social media on Thursday, and today I'm finally reacting to the sad news on wrestling legend Hulk Hogan. I'm deeply saddened to hear about the passing of Hulk Hogan. He died at the age of 71, cardiac arrest. I grew up in the 90s, born in the 80s, and during my childhood, Hulk Hogan was every kid's hero. Watching wrestling goes back to some of my earliest and favorite memories as a kid. The thing that I remember was actually watching him, be a maniac on TV, rip off his shirt, and the leg dropping moments that just captivated you. I remember my early days as a kid when I first got into wrestling. I got into it because of Hulk Hogan. The early 90s, Saturday mornings were something you looked forward to. For most wrestling fans during that era, Saturday mornings were spent in front of the TV for an hour. If you were growing up around that time, he was everything to you. He wasn't just a wrestler, he was your hero. The spoiled kid that I was, I had a lot of Hulk Hogan figurines, toys. You guys remember the Hulk stretch figure? I had one of those. It was like a stretch toy figure of Hulk Hogan. Man, I was fascinated with that toy. I can recall the time my mom drove to Toys R Us one Friday on payday to buy me the giant size Hulk Hogan action figure because back then I was really into it. Not so much today, but as a kid I was crazy about wrestling. This was before it became WWE. It was my thing growing up. I think it was for Christmas one year that my parents surprised me with the WWE playset where I got the ring and figurines. And man, I remember my face just lit up. Posters would go up on my wall with Hulk Hogan on it. One day we were in the store and I saw a WWF coloring book and begged my mom to get it for me. It took her a few times to finally give in, and eventually she did. It put a smile on my face. I was really excited. I ran back to where the coloring books were, quickly grabbed it off the shelf. And when I got home, the first thing I did was grab a box of Crayolers because I liked coloring books as a kid, and I opened the activity book and found the page with Hulk Hogan on it and began to color him using the red and yellow Crayolers. Good times. I have a lot of childhood memories, and even though he was a very flawed individual, he was a big part of my childhood. It was great. It was fun. And then I kind of grew out of it where I just stopped watching. I was about 10 or 11 when I didn't follow it as much. Then about 15 or 16 during the Attitude Era, The Rock, Stone Cold, Scotty 2 Hotty, that era, I started watching again. After I graduated from high school, I kind of lost the love for it. Raw was always Monday nights. If it were NFL season, I was watching Monday Night Football. Today, I don't follow wrestling as much. I mean, there are certain names I know, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, the Bloodline and all that. I still like to watch WrestleMania, but that's probably the only time I tune in. There are guys around my age to this day that's still all in. Go to WrestleManias, got a podcast dedicated to wrestling. In fact, if you want to blow up in this business, just do a wrestling podcast. Tons of views right there. I feel sad to hear about the passing of Hulk Hogan. I know he was incredibly loved and even despised by those who, um, you know him for holding a racist attitude. It was natural for every child growing up around that time to emulate the style of those who inspired us. When I was age 3, the earliest, I did my best to mimic everything he did. If you're around our age, you grew up with Hulk Hogan. If you were a 3-year old or 4-year old, you modeled his behavior. What I mean by that is you were that kid running around the house in your underwear, doing wrestling moves, watching him as the sport quickly and suddenly saw a significant surge in popularity. You wanted to be like the Hulkster, ripping tank tops, and I mean, that's just how impactful and influential he was. He was the foundation that all pro wrestling was built on, through his signature moves and you know uh, cultural background. He undoubtedly strengthened the sport. You can see that he had an influence on it. And despite criticisms about his style and transgressions, Hogan remained a major draw and influential figure for the industry. Being in the public eye opens us up to criticisms and public opinions. Along with the good, Hogan had to deal with the bad. As a matter of fact, I find his legacy to be very complicated. Your legacy should be life well lived. It's the lasting legacy you leave to everyone in wrestling now. But for the Hulkster, a lot of people aren't celebrating his legacy. I don't know how to feel. The Hulkster did a lot of good things for wrestling, and because of his transgressions, his political views, it overshadows all the things. It's a shame that instead of celebrating one of the most iconic figures and pop culture icons, that doesn't seem almost impossible to talk about a lasting legacy without bringing up his racist tirades. And regardless of our opinions on him and how terrible of a person he was, Hulk Hogan defined an era of wrestling. As a wrestler, and in that world especially, he was a legend. No one can take that away from him as a human being. The unmoving, everlasting stain on his soul can never wash off. It will never go away. And for some of you diehard wrestling fans, I'm talking about your hardcore wrestling fans, those who been rocking with it since day one, it does seem like his name is forever etched into their heart because they separate the man from the legacy, or they just don't want to see that side of him who is often characterized as a racist, a drug user, and sexual abuser. Not good things, right? And no matter how much time passes, the scar refuses to fade to some who will never look at him as a bigot. I can't deny the impact and legend status he made for wrestling. I don't know how to feel. I think the people have spoken or have remained silent. This is what you've come to expect. Hogan's controversial views came under scrutiny. And again, we talk about it every time a famous person dies. And as we know, being in the public eye comes, you know, with a lot, right? You hear a lot about Hulk Hogan. The allegations of racism placed him in a shaky position, which created an uncomfortable gray area of emotion for fans looking to separate the character from the man. His legacy is filled with controversy, from lawsuits and public fallouts to racism, to scandals and the sex tape. The fact is, Hulk Hogan is credited with being the most influential wrestler. For My money, he is. And he's the biggest reason why wrestling is what it is today. That's why I think people had a difficult day on Thursday because of his transgressions. You got the sex tape, you got the racial slurs. Having said that, I don't think anyone can talk about his legacy without bringing that up. No doubt the passing of Hulk Hogan certainly brings back a lot of memories from my childhood. But even though he was everybody's hero, he had his imperfections. I want to like the guy for making my childhood what it was, but his racist rant makes it hard for me. The way people are talking about him, a guy who was larger than life, makes me think he let down a lot of people because of his use of the N word. The man, not the character he portrayed. The man, they see everything he did in his personal life in a negative way. It's always going to be that way. Reality. There's reality to it, right? He used the N word repeatedly. He's literally on tape dropping the N word and even admitted on tape that he's a racist. And yet, we want to celebrate him. But there's also this character that he portrayed really well. And so people like myself went crazy over him. It was so captivating living that very moment. He was objectively the most fascinating person on screen every time you put on the TV. And then with the years long estrangement from his daughter, look, that's an unfortunate situation. And of course, everybody on social media likes to point out, hey, how his family life fell apart. Just a sad situation all around. Over the years, his popularity went downhill and he never recovered from it, mostly by his own doing. I have to say this one is tough. A lot of times we talk about separating the art from the artist. And people will tell you he wasn't liked as a person. Maybe a lot of people don't like him for his political views. The fact he showed up to the GOP convention and he's up there ripping shirts in favor of President Donald Trump. All of that aside, the character Hulk Hogan was pro wrestling. Without him, there's really no WWF, WWE for what he was able to accomplish. But the truth is, he captivated millions of people and inspired them around the globe. I think we live in a time where we have to separate the man from the legacy. And I know that's a hard thing to do. It's a very, very hard thing to do. But Hulk Hogan was everything for the WWE. And that's why we are where we are today, thanks to him. Rest in peace to Hulk Hogan. All right, everybody. Thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate the love and support. I'm out of here now. You guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. We'll talk again very soon. I got more content coming up. But guys, I wanted to check in and, express my sentiments and share my thoughts about Hulk Hogan and what he meant to me in my life as well. But guys, you guys take care. You guys have a good day. We'll talk again soon.